Welcome, guys, to lesson 6, where we're going to have the important question: is cardio friend or foe? Now, I want you guys to know that cardio can be a disadvantage and advantage depending on how you use it. Now, if you program it correctly, it can definitely be a friend. And if you program it incorrectly, it can definitely be a foe. So, let's start off with the question of what is cardiovascular training? It's an aerobic exercise. It is a physical activity that increases your heart rate, your breathing, challenges your heart and your lungs to work harder, raises oxygen levels and blood flow throughout the body. Now, let's go through some examples of cardio. A good example is running, which is a very obvious example. We also have rowing, which is another good form of cardio. And we have cycling. Now, both cycling and rowing are two tools that we're going to be using, and I'll be mentioning later on in this lesson because they are very helpful and very beneficial as well. Now, why are aerobic or cardiovascular exercises important? What's the reason of adding them in? Now, most importantly, cardiovascular exercises improve your cardiovascular fitness, strengthens your heart, and all of that really helps you improve your performance in training. You're gonna find yourself weightlifting better, getting in more reps. When with a better heart performance, you have better results of progressive overload. Now, you also reduce risk of heart disease. We're gonna be talking later on what are the regulations where the World Health recommends us to use for cardio, how many hours we should have of cardio a week to be able to maintain a good, healthy heart. Now, with cardiovascular training, it lowers blood pressure, improves cholesterol levels, and it's a very helpful tool to increase your energy expenditure during fat loss. So, say you're in a cutting phase, you want to bump up those activity levels, having a walk, having some cardio is a great way to do it instead of increasing your volume in your exercises and maybe lead yourself to an overtraining stage. Now, with cardio as well, it improves mood. With cardio as well, it improves mood and symptoms of anxiety and depression. So, and it also enhances cognitive function. Now, a very big debate online, which is high intensity interval training versus low intensity steady state cardio or training. Which one is better than the other? For sure, there are differences and there are advantages and disadvantages for both strategies, and we're gonna go through them in this lesson. But it also comes down to individualization, deciding what is best for you at what stage of your weightlifting journey should you be using HIIT or steady state cardio. So let's review both of these cardio strategies. Now, I've put together a huge table for you guys, derived from a lot of extensive, reliable studies to prove all of these points. I also made sure to include all of the citations, which I'll show you guys at the end of reviewing these strategies. Now, I want to just get a something out of the way to for you guys to know that fat oxidation means breakdown of fat. So whenever I mention fat oxidation, just know that that means breaking down fat. Now let's get started with high intensity interval training. There are advantages and disadvantages, and the main advantages of HIIT are time efficiency. I use HIIT a lot whenever I'm very tight on time, and you can get the same benefits of steady state training as steady state training, which you go for 30 to 60 minutes, and you can get the same benefits in just 15 to 20 minutes. Another advantage to high intensity interval training is that it increases your metabolism and it increases fat oxidation throughout the day. Now, it increases your metabolism after you're done with HIIT. Throughout the day, you find your metabolism a little bit higher than the usual. Now, a great reason why I also include HIIT is that it has a lower interference to strength training, and it doesn't have a strong effect on hypertrophy. It doesn't decline any effect on hypertrophy, which is great. And that's one of the biggest issues with cardio, or overdoing it with cardio, that it can come and overlap with your progress when it comes to hypertrophy. Now, it also obviously improves heart health because it's a cardiovascular training. Now, what are the disadvantages of high intensity interval training? Now, it can be very fatiguing when done too frequently, and this is why we don't program it a lot in our programs, either when you're lean bulking or cutting, because we don't want to get you to get too tired. And it's pretty tough to recover from. That's another disadvantage. It's not easy because you really push yourself to your limits when it comes to HIIT cardio. Now, another thing that comes along with it is lack of enjoyment. A lot of studies have shown that people don't tend to enjoy doing it very consistently, and it's not very easy to stick to over the long term. Now, another thing is that high intensity interval training uses up glycogen stores, and we do really need glycogen stores during a weightlifting session because it really helps supply our muscles with carb resources and glucose to get that muscle to work at as to work as efficient as possible and lift the weights that we want it to lift. So if we're draining all of that glycogen supplies, it can come as a disadvantage to us. Now, steady state training. What are the disadvantages and advantages? Let's start with the advantages. It's not that fatiguing when frequent. It's pretty easy on the body, and a lot of people actually enjoy it. There's no problem when you have a steady state training a lot in your program or for a long time, and it's very easy to recover from. And fun fact, steady state training burns fat during your exercise. But here's the catch, you won't be burning fat unless you start walking or doing steady state cardio for at least more than 20 minutes. Your body isn't going to get in that fat burning mode until it reaches that 20 to 30-minute range of you consistently walking or consistently biking for a while, so it can actually start just burning fat for energy. Now, obviously, steady state cardio is a way to improve heart health. Now, let's move on to the disadvantages. Now, the disadvantages are many, and one of them are it's a time consuming cardio strategy. You just need at least 30 minutes to actually have a beneficial steady state cardio training session. And it can be up to from 30 to 60 minutes of you doing cardio, and it can take up a lot of time. Now, now another thing that's a huge deal when it comes to steady state training is that it interferes with strength training. It really does, and it has a strong effect on hypertrophy if done too much and not programmed correctly as well. Now, there is also a potential of muscle loss because of this overlap with hypertrophy and its decline effects on hypertrophy. And unfortunately, steady state training does not increase your metabolism like high intensity interval training. Now, finally, here are all of the PubMed sources. You can take these numbers, put it into PubMed, you find all those articles, and you can have a good read and see the science behind this yourself. Now, here are the important precautions when using cardiovascular training. Now, a very popular meta-analysis, and when we talk about meta-analysis and we mention that it's a meta-analysis study, know that it's a very, very reliable study. This study have shown that after taking account for 21 studies which looked at the combination of cardio and strength training, there is a slight effect on hypertrophy when combining the two, as we mentioned earlier. So that we can reduce the interference of cardio and strength training as much as we can, here are our recommendations. Firstly, avoid doing a lower body endurance exercise after doing a lower body strength training session. An example of this is, say for example, you have leg day. If you have leg day and then right after it you start doing cycling as in for cardio, that's not a good idea, and you are affecting your hypertrophy for your legs at that situation. A good idea to be able to reduce that interference between your leg growth and cardio is engaging in cycling after an upper body strength training session, and vice versa. If you have leg day, then do an upper body form of cardio instead. Now, the next one is using HIIT full body exercises. And studies have shown that it limits any negative side effects on hypertrophy. So, what you can do is lightweight cleans or lightweight kettlebells. Doing them with very, very high reps is a great idea to do as a form of HIIT cardio. Now, try to keep your endurance training and strength training as apart from each other as much as you can. If you can do cardio in the morning and then have your training session at night, that's great. If you can have your training session right in the afternoon and have your cardio at night, that's even better, because you want to keep them as apart from each other as possible. And if you do different forms of cardio for different body parts, that's even better, like we just mentioned in our first tip. Now, our last thing is it our last thing? No, it's not our last thing. Now, our next thing is choosing low impact endurance exercises. This is very important for you guys, because if you're doing running or jogging, if you're doing, now this is very important for you guys. Studies have shown that doing running and jogging, they do have a strong effect on hypertrophy by declining that effect on hypertrophy. It does have very strong interference. But if you're doing low impact exercises like cycling, rowing, lightweight cleans, and kettlebells, there's barely any effect on hypertrophy, and actually it might even be very beneficial for you for improving your strength on your weightlifting exercises. Now, last thing, do not engage in endurance training before strength training. I know a lot of people who would be doing cardio before training, like 30 minutes on the treadmill or 30 minutes of cycling, and then do a leg workout or do a weightlifting session. Don't use up your energy on cardio in the beginning. You want to conserve your energy as much as you can for your weightlifting session, because we want to put on as much muscle as we can. We want to put on a lot of strength on you and really get you that results and not have anything affecting that. Now, how do you do steady state cardio? It's important that we're talking about cardio, how to do it. Choose the exercise. Like we mentioned, we want to choose low impact exercises: cycling, rowing, walking. The duration is going to be aiming for at least 30 minutes, like we mentioned, and the reason for this is because your body starts using oxygen efficiently for energy after exercising for like 15 to 20 minutes. So you start to burn effectively at the 30-minute plus mark. Now, intensity, be at a moderate intensity where it's tough, where you can still carry on a conversation, but it's still not being able to just chill. You're doing something and you are biking and it's a bit tough, but you can carry on a conversation. Now, the frequency is, you can have a range from 2 to 5 times a week. Now, it is recommended to have at least 150 to 300 minutes of cardio per week for your heart health. And that's around 2 hours, 2 hours and a half at minimum to do cardio every single week. Now, I would suggest doing lots of walking to take up more of that frequency. It's light on the body, minimal effect on hypertrophy, and it's very important for longevity and well-being and heart health. Now, how do you do HIIT cardio? This is where things get a little bit tough. HIIT cardio, like I mentioned, really tests your limits. And again, we're going to be choosing low impact exercises like cycling, rowing, swimming. You can also do clean barbell. You can also do kettlebell or clean pulls as your HIIT cardio. Now, the duration, you aim for at least 20 to 25 minutes for HIIT cardio. And this is the important part, so you guys know the intensity. Your intensity needs to get to a point where you are breathing. You want to get to an intensity where your breathing is difficult and you can't breathe in the air as quickly as you feel you need to. So you are pushing yourself to the limits here. That's what I want. I want you to be pushing yourself to the limits when it comes to HIIT cardio. Now, there's also a ratio that you should be following, and the ratio that we will be choosing for you as a beginner is a 1-to-2 ratio. 1 minute of very high intensity cardio, and then 2 minutes of moderate intensity, and that's where you want to be like slightly resting, but you're still doing moderate intensity. You're not completely resting, you are still burning, and then you switch back into that high intensity cardio for 1 minute, and then you get back into the 2 minutes. As you get better, move on to a harder ratio, so your exercise is making you improve athletically, and you're actually progressing for your athletic performance and being able to lose fat faster as well. So you can move on to a ratio of 1-to-1, 1 minute of high intensity and 1 minute of moderate intensity. Now the frequency is a bit lower than low intensity cardio, 1 to 3 times a week. This will change depending on your goals, so don't overdo it with HIIT cardio. Make sure you're not doing too much, but you're doing enough to be able to have effective results during a cutting phase or a lean bulk phase. Now this was cardio, guys. I hope this was helpful, and make sure to finish your quiz, and I'll see you guys in the next lesson.